Good morning. How are you guys? By the way, comedians get applauded before they start doing things, so now I'm going to have to be funny, I guess, because that's never happened before. But today I'm going to try to do the impossible. Heather doesn't believe I can get it done. We're going to do 15 customer stories around BTP and how they help process in 30 minutes. So, as always, if I talk about the future, it may change. So that's our little disclaimer that's on everyone. As always, I bring t-shirts. Can anybody identify who this person is that's on screen right now? Formula One driver, yes, but who is it? By the way, who said Formula One driver? Andretti. Okay, you're going to have a partial credit there if no one else comes up with this. It's not Andretti. He has an airline too, or he did. All right, winner, winner. This is Niki Lauda. He won a lot of Formula One championships. And back when I was a really young guy, I actually was a huge Formula One fan. And yeah, I had to dig that one out of the archives. But basically, I think there's some amazing parallels between what's happening in Formula One racing and what's happening in companies today. So really quick, this is self-identification of your company, not yourself, okay? There's three kinds of companies. Companies that lean into change. Do you work at one of these companies that takes on all the new stuff right away? Show of hands, anyone? There's one. Okay, not the world's most popular position. Then a lot of companies wait to see what everybody else is doing in their industry. Who works at a company like that? And then there's the rest, which is we're going to change after they make us do it. Who's in that company? Yeah, there's quite a few of us that do that. Here's reality, though. If you don't change, you're going to wind up getting left behind. As Virgil put it, fortune favors the bold. Of course, that's in Latin. Our famous Dallas resident talks about this all the time. If you haven't seen his master class, Mark Cuban talks all about how change is constant, change is accelerating. Your competitors are changing right now. And so if you think about why BTP in its shortest possible sense, SAP created BTP to help you change quickly with less risk. It's how you become prepared for the future by being more modular. It helps you innovate fast while reducing risk as we give you pre-built content and blueprints on how to implement different functionality. It helps you optimize business processes, which was the topic we just went through. How do you optimize business process? It takes people, takes technology, takes process. Did I get it right? She wrote a book, I have to ask.
Like speak up a little bit louder.
A little louder? Yeah. Man, oh man. Yeah. Ultimately, it helps you create an effective data fabric. And that's crucial because we're trying to make decisions better with data. And lastly, the topic of the day is how do you infuse AI and make it part of the business process so that it helps you become more effective and efficient. Ultimately, it comes down to the part in orange. It's how you adapt quickly and get ready for the future. Question number 2, does anybody know why this car is significant? I'm scared you guys didn't get Niki Lauda, so this may be a hard question. Anybody want to take a guess?
It's electric.
It is not.
It's driven by AI.
Let's go with it was a technological marvel. We're going to figure out, well, one of the students is going to get a t-shirt because no one else in the gray hair crowd got it done, okay? But this is the Williams car from 1993, and it was an amazing technological marvel. It dominated the entire track, and it got there because it changed things. It did things differently than everybody else did. And so, could it beat today's modern Formula One cars? What do you think? No way. Everything on that car has changed. Most of the things that have changed, by the way, are that it's now connected in real time to an entire team that's looking at the analytics and understands the temperature of the brakes, understands exactly how much fuel they're using. It's a connected real-time enterprise in a little microcosm. So the change that we're facing today is AI, and I would argue that it's too big to fail. The big companies, the Googles, the Amazons of the world, They've invested $150 billion with a B this year. Anybody want to guess how much every hotel room that Marriott and Hilton owns costs in market cap? $70 billion. They've invested twice as many as everything that we've ever stayed at in every hotel in North America, right? It's amazing. So if you think about your enterprise systems, S4 is the engine, but you're not going to win the race with just the engine alone. If BTP serves an incredibly important part of this, right? So we all know why we're buying software as a service. The devil's in the details. It's less expensive and you can stay on budget when you buy it in the cloud. It's well tested. You're not buying something that's a system of one. It's something that's been tested across a lot of different other systems. You know what the lifetime costs are going to be. And above everything else, you're able to now evolve much more quickly. You don't get stuck where you haven't upgraded your ERP in the last 3 years. Does anybody work at a place like that? No upgrades in the last 3 years? I actually encounter those around the country all the time. And so SAP delivers a certain amount of scope. That's the light blue area. You're going to wind up using part of it, and there's always going to be stuff that's unique to your enterprise that's not going to be included. How do you integrate everything that you have? What's differentiating to you? All those things are probably not going to be part of that base ERP. But as long as you get a great fit with S4, BTP was invented for this area, and it includes all the future components that you may need because lots of other companies are using it. And so how does BTP impact business process, which is the topic of the day? Well, if you think about it, no matter how large or small your company is, it really comes down to how well you execute your business processes. You're the sum of your business processes. And so if you look at any business process, even this greatly simplified one, let's pretend that's order to cash or procure to pay, it's going to run in a lot of different swim lanes, right? A lot of it may run in your ERP, but there's going to be things that run in other applications. There may be manual steps. There may be things that you want to create in another platform like Business Technology Platform. The old way we used to do it is that we made all our modifications in that ERP. User exits, baddies, all that wonderful stuff. But that's what made it hard to upgrade. That's what made it hard to change quickly. And we know that winning the race today is about changing quickly. The first place people generally use BTP is with integration. Murphy Oil is a great story here. Murphy's an exploration and production company. They had a problem. They were losing 1 out of 4 days because their operations center was trying to track down the data on all their different systems. And if you're familiar with oil and gas, there's lots of moving parts. There's lots of valves. There's lots of flying helicopters. They integrated all these different systems together. They kind of created mission control with our partner Inkture. They rolled it out in just 10 weeks, and Rajesh puts it this way. We got 15 to 20% more productivity with the exact same workforce by just integrating things well together. So a great use case for BTP is integration. Now you may have a situation where you have a situation notification that turns into something that you're doing manually. This is an opportunity, of course, to do some automation if you do it over and over again. Zulig had a problem during the pandemic. They supply 350,000 different healthcare facilities with healthcare stuff. And their problem was that their order processors, which was a very manual process for them, they were going down with the ship. They were getting COVID too, and they couldn't process orders. They took advantage of our automation and blockchain, and they basically automated their order intake process. They got an amazing side benefit in the fact that they could now keep up with all the audit requirements that all these different governments had as they were supplying all these facilities. It's a very repetitive process. Now they were doing it the exact same way. As Daniel puts it, it kept us in business, which is kind of a crucial thing when you think about it, and there's always another black swan right around the corner. Other companies may have things where things come in as streams, whether it's web click streams or IoT streams. That's an opportunity to use predictive analytics within BTP to make sure you decide how you're going to route that. You may use AI to figure out if that needs to be done manually or if that needs to be done automatically, but it's a great use case for BTP. Ferris, which looks like fairies to me, but Ferris is a water utility in Belgium. And they basically had an opportunity, right? They were doing things all kinds of different ways. They had a real standardization problem, but they were trying to become a more real-time business. They decided to partner with all the other public utilities in Belgium to create a smart platform for real-time computing that could take in like smart water meters and get those readings automatically, right? They rolled it out with the help of Capgemini, and they used advanced enterprise mesh to make sure all those real-time messages could be processed by different applications in kind of a pub-sub kind of environment. If you haven't had a meeting, I said this last time I was here, if you haven't had a meeting on enterprise mesh yet, it's still one of the coolest things that SAP is doing right now. Ultimately, they were able to become a real-time business, and they got a lot of side benefits too. Like, for example, the customers can now see their water usage on a real-time basis, as opposed to everything being months and months behind. One of the areas that people use BTP for all the time is to create portals, whether internal or external. Lockheed is a great story here. They basically onboard a lot of people in a very complex business, and they want to make sure that they know where somebody is after they hire them in the onboarding process. And they couldn't do that before, so they decided to use WorkZone to kind of create this single pane of glass where they could see where every single person was in the onboarding process. They rolled it out, it had a tremendous reception, and in fact, John's basically saying, look, I think I want to use this exact same front-end UX methodology of combining live data on a screen with a lot of other areas of our business as well. Now, you may want to take that portal idea and also make sure that it's going to be mobile, right? Everybody's got their mobile, especially if you're younger, right? The younger crowd. Exxon, they had an interesting situation. They encouraged people to change jobs quickly. They wanted to make sure that their HR system could keep up with that. And so they basically did modern wireframing. They created a mobile app, kind of a little mobile portal that lets people bid for jobs all over the country, all over the world. And in fact, 25,000 people at Exxon change jobs every single year using this talent exchange application. And Margaret put it this way. She goes, I have no idea how we used to do it the old way. This application is absolutely mission critical to what we're doing with HR. And so you may have a situation where a notification comes out of your ERP and it turns into an application you want to write. That's crucially important. I think I went through this story with you guys a couple years ago, but it's a crucial story that now I know the next chapter. So Vestas, they build a lot of these windmills. They're one of the largest manufacturers in the world. Their CEO was not a happy guy because every time he went to the IT department, IT would say, sure, sir, no problem, we'll get it done. It's only going to take us 2 years or 3 years. And the CEO didn't think 2 to 3 years was a great estimate. And so ultimately, their problem was they were paper-based. If the door blew the construction trailer door open, half the project might be on the floor. And if you move these cranes in the wrong spots, it's a $12,000 mistake. Services wasn't much better. You fix these things, they're out in Timbuktu. And when you need a part, you have to get in your little minivan. You have to go driving to town. You have to order your part with your Panasonic Toughbook. At least that's the way they used to do it. They jumped on an airplane, they went to Cupertino, they did design thinking, they flew back, they used pre-built content to go fast. They wound up in 6 months taking construction all the way to all paper to all iOS. Services collapsed 50 different applications down to 6 consumer-grade apps. They don't even train the folks on it because they can track the KPIs, the apps themselves, to see how people are using it. They absolutely love the result, but what it really did for them is that abstracted that legacy core from all their innovation layer on the front end. So what are they doing now? They decided to take this kind of a product outcome approach where they say, hey, these are the benefits I think I'm going to get. Now they actually measure against that to see if we're actually not just getting the done, are we getting the done and getting the benefits that we thought we were going to get? They also have decided now to revamp their supply chain. So that's a new project. They're taking on S4 because now they can work on the back end while the front end, the people that are working in the field are all happy. They're going with the next generation of field service. They're also working on warehouse management. So it basically, the innovation has flourished because they were able to go a much more modular setup with their ERP system. So then you return your data back to your ERP via OData. You can use business rules and workflow, which kind of was in every one of those stories. So, but basically make sure that it routes to the right person for approvals and things like that. You can also include chatbots. Right here in Dallas, Parkland was an amazing story. Parkland was the busiest ER in North America in 2019. And when COVID hit, it was a disaster for them. The busiest ER now has a lot more patients, right? And so they didn't know where all their things were. They wanted to make sure they knew where the beds were, the ventilators were, how much oxygen do we have on hand, which nurses are on staff. They basically created a full inventory tracker. They created a kind of a, once again, a kind of a mission control to where things are happening. And as Scott puts it, it literally saved lives to be able to get that done in just a few weeks. And it was an incredible story. And so that gets you to where how do we improve our processes and process monitoring? So for a t-shirt, here's a quick question. What company did SAP buy to help you with your process improvement? Who says Signavio first? It's hard up here. All right. By the way, that is Doug Culpepper, who's playing Vanna White for me today. And Doug is probably the best guy in Dallas, Texas that lives here on DataSphere. So if you have a DataSphere question, catch him in the hallway. He doesn't just do Vanna White for a living. But you're doing a great job, Doug. Yeah, so why should you use BTP for process optimization? And the answer is the right tools for the job. It's the tools that were designed to help you take your ERP and make sure that it's working perfectly and you're getting a great fit with your ERP systems or other systems like SuccessFactors, for example, in my story. So then from there, we're going to transition a little bit to the data, because if you want to become more effective, you got to use data well. So here's where we left off. My process chart and how we help in process. And if you think about it, across the bottom, we already had embedded analytics as part of the process. We had predictive analytics. We had that portal I talked about, had analytics within it. And then, of course, we talked a little bit about what Signavio does with process mining. And so BTP's other dimension is really around data. So how do you optimize business processes? Well, Acea is a great story. Acea is the electrical utility for the greater Rome metropolitan area, okay? And they had a real KPI problem. They had to post police at every customer service desk because people were so upset because everything took forever. I mean, literally forever. And you can imagine, it wasn't going well. Police were stationed everywhere. They took a data-driven approach to figure out all the different process variants, what's going wrong. And they started working on it one at a time. In just 1 year, they were able to get all those numbers down 60%. And most importantly, the COO was very happy because he didn't have to pay the police guys anymore. They didn't have to stand there because all of a sudden the processes were running much better. The next thing that BTP can do for you is help you create this real-time intelligent enterprise. San Francisco 49ers, it is football season, I love this story. But San Francisco 49ers wanted to convert the way they do business. They used to do it the old way. They used to hire young MBAs to do spreadsheets. They'd see how the stadium performed this week. They would analyze it in the middle of the week, and the next week they would try to adjust their stadium. Instead, they decided to use BTP to integrate it all together. All their different data sources, everything from the parking lots to the ticket sales, to the corporate booths that overlook the stadium, to the food service areas, to where they sell t-shirts. They combined it all together. They created this kind of mission control, once again. It's sitting on the 40-yard line, by the way. If you're ever in San Jose, your SAP rep can help you visit this place. It's great. But bottom line, Moon puts it this way. It changed everything that we do. We now can react to hot dogs being cold on the west side and hustle people over there because we see what's happening in our stadium while the 70,000 fans are there hoping to win the game. The next way that BTP can help is to create this effective data fabric, which is kind of Doug Culpepper over there, Mr. Data Fabric. Porsche, they had an interesting situation. They have a lot of constituents that want quality data. And so their CFO basically had this idea, if we build it, they will come, right? People have a lot of data stuffed under their desks on Excel spreadsheets and everything else. It's not just corporate people at Porsche because they've got their entire dealer network that isn't owned by Porsche themselves, right? And so they decided to not do it the old way, which is the MBAs. By the way, we're not employing enough MBAs anymore because we're doing it all with BTP. But just kidding. They're not laughing at me anymore. They took DataSphere, they combined data, they created these, you could take great corporate data, add your data to it to create your analysis, but you knew that the corporate part of it in your little playground was always good. That was the basic idea that they were using DataSphere for. And as a result, it is an incredibly cost-effective solution. There's videos out there by Marcus that he was presenting at TechEd a few years ago. But it's an incredible story. It was a cost-effective solution to how to get great governed corporate data in the hands of everybody that wants to do analysis. The last one is, how do you combine BI with planning? And we just had the BTP summits, by the way, in Chicago and Philadelphia and San Francisco. And Google presented there on this exact topic. They talked about the fact that even though they have a spreadsheet product, they decided to use SAC with planning for their workforce planning. They've got over 160,000 employees. It definitely had outgrown what a spreadsheet can do. They had an interesting situation because they're a very consensus-driven place. They had to have tons and tons of meetings to get every department on board. But the solution's been an incredible success. And I can actually give you access to the video of the presentation that happened at San Francisco, so catch me afterwards. But it was an absolutely stellar story. So here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to spend all your time working on this modern infrastructure and just realize that your foundation is teetering on spreadsheets under people's desks. And so, for a t-shirt, what is the name of the BTP service that simplifies the data landscape? Preserves business context for analytics, connects SAP data with non-SAP data. What do you think? Who went first on DataSphere? We need a lot of honesty here. DataSphere Doug is about to give you your DataSphere t-shirt. So ultimately, getting your data right is crucially important for this next reason. You can't have great AI without great data. If you have bad data, things aren't going to go well. And that really is the third dimension of BTP, how we help you use AI as part of the business process to drive greater productivity in your business. So here's where we left off. I went purple for my third dimension. When you look at Spider-Man and the multiverse, it's really hard to figure out how to create multiverses on a PowerPoint. I can tell you that right now. And so the first thing, I think most of us have seen this, but Joule is kind of the easy to see front end that SAP is implementing to deliver AI. And it's going to be an incredibly important thing. It's not just a chatbot. It's got lots and lots of capabilities behind the scenes to make sure that it helps you navigate, it helps you get the right answers, helps you build stories within SAC. It does lots of great things, right? But if you think about it, it's mostly embedded in applications like S4. And yes, we have announced, and TechEd's next week, so we're probably going to have more announcements around Joule, but we have announced that you're going to be able to modify Joule to work with other applications outside of SAP. I'm assuming that's going to be a topic next week. But if you think about what BTP does with AI, it helps you do a lot of these things that I've just talked about a lot faster. We have AI now incorporated in integration to help you build iFlows quickly. AI will also help you create faster automation bots, or create automation bots faster. Yeah, trying to get that right. You're able to now build workflows quicker with GenAI 2. Coding is getting much better, where you can actually get sample code. Maybe you have to do some adjustments, but it absolutely makes you more productive, especially when you're first just unfamiliar with a new area, as an example. And then lastly, the Generative AI Hub is really exciting because it lets you use those large language models through a well-vetted, well-engineered way of making it part of your business process. And so that's the BTP area of how we're helping with AI. 4 quick stories. So how do you work smarter with AI? First and foremost, Constellation Brands. I think all of us might be familiar with their labels, like Corona, Modelo. They ship a lot of beer. They've been one of the fastest growing CPG companies for the last 10 years. 400 million cases get shipped every single year. And guess what? There's a lot of damage, to the tune of roughly 1,000 damaged shipments per week. And this is a very manual process, and it was happening a lot. They would have to take 15, 20 pictures. They would have to fill out forms. It was taking them at least 20 minutes for each one of these damaged claims to actually just get reported, let alone follow through and make sure you got paid and all that kind of stuff. They decided to work with our app house to kind of outline how Gen AI would help them not only capture the images, recognize the damage, do all that kind of stuff. They're extremely happy. They're now looking for other ways that they can use BTP with AI to make their processes run better. The second story is, how do you scale better with growth? PayPal has been growing like a weed over the years. The first time I used the story, they had 10 billion transactions. Now they're over 25 billion. They also own Venmo. So I mean, it's that they have a lot of stuff going on. And their problem was that they're in 180, 190 countries. So that financial companies get audited all the time. They wanted to make sure they did everything the same way. So that way they could survive the audits. Their employees loved it. Their regulators loved it. They created everything. This is more of a machine learning, not a Gen AI story, but the whole point is you have to combine both if you want great results. Ultimately, they couldn't be more pleased. They were able to scale without having to scale all their SG&A behind the scenes. My third story is, how do you improve efficiency? AMD is one of the leading chip manufacturers for AI. And they generally had a problem where people were calling up saying, where are our chips? They got this query all the time. And when you had to look at the ERP system, it took checking 15 different places to figure out why your shipment's running late. It took about 30 minutes to get that done. So they basically worked with the app house to also come up with a Gen AI powered system that got it done in 2 minutes. And 1 minute was just typing in the query. So now this person could actually answer the question on the phone without having to call people back, without having to double check all these different places. It was a great productivity enhancement, and now they're rolling it out this quarter, I believe. So it should be out by the end of the year for everyone. Lastly, how do you optimize processes with AI? Louisiana Pacific, if you're familiar with these guys, they ship a lot of wood products for building houses and things like that. And they basically realized that optimization of profit for them was making sure the customer stayed happy while they shipped you the goods on time, make sure it landed there. But the shipment itself had a lot to do with whether it's going to be profitable or not. So they wanted to take this optimizer. They could, instead of doing rule-based optimization where it was if then, if then, if then, they had a lot of different plants, they had a lot of different inventory. How do they put together your order to the right customer at the right time in the most efficient possible way? And so BTP really did the plumbing behind the scenes. The optimizer was actually a third-party optimizer. But now they're playing 3D chess with their deliveries. They're returning, it optimizes multiple times a day. They return what they're going to ship back to the ERP. And they have a manual step in the process if you want to override it or double check it. But it was really a great success. And the payback was incredible. Basically, Verinder said that payback first year is roughly 900%, and next year is going to be even better because the implementation costs won't be in there anymore. And so, one more t-shirt. What BTP AI capability is coming soon that will help you create custom extensions and keep your core clean? Y'all haven't been reading your BTP news? What's that? Nope. I'm looking for a key word. Starts with an A. But what in build code? I know, but what's the functionality within build code? Did anybody say ABAP and I didn't hear it? Doug, I think we're going with build code, but yeah, ABAP with AI is coming really, really soon, and it's going to help a lot. So it was close enough. So why SAP for AI? We help you make sure that you don't show up in the Wall Street Journal for all the wrong reasons. Bottom line, responsible, relevant AI as part of your business process. To take advantage of the platform means that you're going to take advantage of the momentum. You're going to be able to change quickly, and that is an important part here. That's how you win this race. It's the same slide I started with. Ultimately, that's how you adapt quickly, and BTP can help in lots of different ways within your enterprise. If you want to visit, by the way, if you go to sapbob.com, we can connect on LinkedIn, and I can definitely route you to guys like Doug that really know the material really well. But my ybtp.com area is an overview that you can share with others in your company. I've got my own blog on BTP, which tells you I think and breathe BTP way too much every single day. But ultimately, don't miss these two events. Next week, you can register today. It's free. Next week on the 8th and 9th is Tech Ed. It's online. Every session is broadcast. Every session is recorded. It's a great 2-day event. I signed up for the entire AI track. But there's an AI track, there's a BTP track, there's every one of those tracks. And then ASUG's got Tech Connect. This year it's in West Palm in November. How can you miss that? So definitely think about going out to West Palm for that one. And if you want more information, this will get you my curated 13 links on BTP. Thank you.